Thank you for staying with us for the news review. Time now for us to get into the papers, and we're joined by Dr. Peter Anti. I'll be welcoming him onto the show shortly. But the segment, of course, is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening as well. You might want to take advantage of that. Now, here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's also in Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hansua, and Isiama in Zima. You can actually call them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Well, joining us for this review is Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti. He is our guest. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you. We've not spoken in a few months, I think. It's been a while. I hope you've kept well.
Yes, we are managing.
Managing, eh? They say the best managers are in Ghana because we do magic somehow.
Exactly.
Since you're talking about managing, how is the economy treating you?
It's not been easy. I have to be frank with you. I think that things are getting out of hand. Or if you look at how expensive things are in the market, if you look at our normal utility bills, how they keep going up. Nowadays, you buy prepaid like 100 Ghana citizen, and it takes you like 2-3 days. That is a little bit difficult to take. So,
whoa! Wait, is this at your residence? Is this at work? Where is it? You purchase 100 Ghana cedis of prepaid credits,
and
they last you 3 days.
Yes.
Where is this? At home or at your office?
Yeah, at home.
Peter, what are you using?
Oh, nothing.
Are you operating a chainsaw or a mill at home?
Unless maybe I run a cold store here. It's serious. It's crazy. Yeah. So I don't.
No, I'm surprised. I mean, it runs and we're all plaintive. But 100 CDs every 3 days. Wait, let's do the math. So 100 CDs per 3 days, that would mean times 10, right?
Yeah.
In a month.
Yeah.
So you need about 1,000 CDs, thereabouts.
Yeah, sure. I don't know whether it's a fault with the meter, but I doubt if it is because a prepaid meter.
But have you spoken to the ECG on this?
No, I haven't. Maybe I would have to talk to them. But it's an observation I've made, and it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
So in that instance, how much would you ordinarily top up? It would mean that if you don't want the lights to go off unexpectedly, you may need to top up about 250, 300, thereabouts. And you know that would last you for about a week, right?
Yeah, sure. Or more.
Wow.
So if you buy 300, then you are doing like 10 days.
Okay. God be our help. I am being told it actually is the reality in so many households. It was just whispered to me that yes, it is actually the reality what you're saying. But for me, that is. Wait. So if you run such a bill, how much would you have to earn as a salary? Or from your side gigs and all of that, just to keep body and soul together. I always say that for me, I went to the bank the other day because I'm on a facility that no thanks to the monetary policy rate, has shot up because my terms were variable, has shot up from where it was much higher. So what comes in and the value I would have got a year and a half or two ago has been eroded by what are you saying? And if you add inflation to that, it means I literally have to, do the other things I do just to manage the
Yeah,
situation.
sure.
Just to, I mean, sometimes people look at us and they think everything is, we're feeling the pinch. It is massive. And when I went to the bank as well, this is what they told me. Some people who are on facilities, right now, they can't even make up. You know, your salary goes through the bank, they take their
Yeah,
portion,
sure.
and what is left is yours. Now, with the hike in the monetary policy rate and all of that, for some people, what they were getting earlier, that the bank would take its share and then you are left with something. Now, even that sum, the entirety of the sum, is not enough to facilitate the monthly, requirement.
Yeah.
And so now they have to top up. They have to give them bank money.
Bank additional money. It's crazy, and when it happens like this, then it means that you have to work extra hard to be able to keep up with all your expenses and bills that you have. And when that happens, it means you are putting more stress on yourself, and it comes with it attendant illness and breakdowns of the body system. I think we need to find ways and means to cushion ourselves in terms of some of these things, bills. I mean, water bill, electricity, and the basic things that we need to be able to keep up. Because if those who are gainfully employed are going through this hardship, you can't imagine what the people who do not have anything doing. And when you talk about that,
The people who do not have anything doing tend to fall on us. And so it still comes back to us. Because you have to do a lot of charity in the course of the month. There are relations here, there are responsibilities there. And before you realize it, because they don't have work to do, it also falls back on you. And it becomes even more of a problem.
Exactly. It's unfortunate.
Anyway.
Let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best, but the best doesn't just fall down on people. Else people would wish, and like they say, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, Doc, improving living conditions of Ghanaians. Interesting how it starts, because that's exactly what we're talking about. Improving the living conditions of Ghanaians. Government vows to do more. VP assures at Eid prayers. Asian African Consortium partners UCC to boost grain production in Ghana and absorb cancer treatment costs nationwide. Dr. Saki appeals to government. A lot of those who have whatever cancers, especially my heart breaks with the childhood cancers. When this happens, the cost of treatment is so high, a lot of them cannot afford it. And sometimes there are deaths that could be avoided, but because of a lack of resources, and a lot of the time because they determine it late, there are all of these problems. But anyway, on the back page, Kotoko fight back to beat Adriana. And Adriana are top with 47 points. Bechim United with 44. Mediama with 44 as well. And now Kotoko with 42 points, level with Hearts of Oak, who lost recently to Bechim United. But let's get into the substantive stories. So on page 11, government vows to do more. VP assures at Eid prayers. What exactly are they doing better? Well, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has indicated government's determination to do more to improve the living conditions of Ghanaians despite the challenging economical environment the country finds itself in and the skepticism of the government's critics. I think that should be economic. Well, he said the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo-led government would continue to pursue inclusive policies to benefit every citizen irrespective of their status. Quoting him, he says, "Inclusiveness brings harmony, and the best way to achieve same is to bring development to all by thinking outside the box and come out with effective and transformational policies that benefit all." What's your quick take on that? Do you see that? At least it's an assurance that he's given, but we're in the 7th year. Next year will be the 8th year, final year of the Akufo-Addo-led administration. In terms of improving our living conditions, how would you say this government has fared?
Well, I think that in difficult times, what you don't want to see or hear is that you don't want your leaders to also give up, just like the people are giving up. So it becomes important that leaders give us hope and depict to us that they are doing everything possible to make things stabilize and make things work for for us. But I think that there's an extent that you can do that, because when you continue to give assurances and at the end of the day nothing is showing, it gets back to what Alan Chamantin said. You talk all the time, no action. And I don't think that we want to get there, because I feel that people are a little bit have given up. I mean, there's no hope in the system. Most people do not think that things can be turned around anytime soon. So just giving hope that you will do more, I think is not enough. I think by this time we should see some concrete steps that are leading to a turnaround of the economic hardship that we are going through. And I feel that we are not doing much to bring down the hardship that people are really going through. So the words are important. There's the need to encourage and show that leadership is still hoping for the best. But I think we should put they should make us feel that the leadership
Hello, Doc.
is really doing. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I lost you for a moment. Go ahead, please.
All right. Another part is that we need to also be a little bit reflective and admit that things are going out of hand. And when we have some of these platforms, we need to speak like we have really admitted that things are really going out of hand. And when we do that, people now come to understand that, look, we are on the same level. Then we also need to show in our acts and deeds that truly we sympathize with the people and the things that they are going through. I think that these are things that leaders do in difficult moments to ensure that they carry the people along. And so we talk about critics and other things. I don't think this is the time to even talk about your opponent. This is the time to put your eye on the ball and ensure that you turn the system around. Then you can stand chest out and say that we said we would do it and we have done it. But if you keep talking about your opponent, you keep talking about people you think wish negative for you, then it means that your focus is so much on your opponent and not about turning around the situation that all of us we find ourselves in.
Interesting thoughts there. Let me just get to page 7. It talks about Rebecca Kofuado, an exemplary first lady and paragon of compassion. It's an interesting piece by Eche Sikanku. You can take a look at that story. Just quoting one paragraph. In the immutable history of first ladies worldwide, they have come in various shades and colors: the dramatic, the fearful, the forceful, the traditional, the policy wonks, the ceremonial, and the moderate. Ma Becky, as he calls her, has carved a niche for herself as a figure of respect. You can check out details of that, a sort of celebration of the First Lady. That is on page 7. But let's get into other, hard-cutting issues. Absorb cancer treatment costs nationwide. Dr. Saki appeals to government, and the government has been urged to absorb the cost of all cancer treatment in the country. That, according to the principal medical physicist at the National Radiotherapy, Oncology and Nuclear Medicine Center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Theophilus Saki, was crucial to limiting the exposure of patients to quacks and unsafe treatments that often lead to complications and the loss of life. Depending on the treatment modality one is put on, quoting him, he says, one can spend a minimum of 10,000 Ghana cedis on each, and that is an amount the average Ghanaian simply cannot raise. People come here, and once they are told the cost, they go soliciting for funds, and by the time they come back, a stage 1 case, which could have been easily treated, has developed to stage 3. And that is the situation. Let me add this so you respond to it. Report on illegal mining by Professor Frimpong Boateng, catalogue of grievances and hearsay. That's according to government. What do you make of that issue, Doc? Because as we speak, there are galamseyas on our water bodies, around our water bodies. And if you follow what Professor Frimpong Boateng has been saying, to wit, there are people in government. He points to the Jubilee House itself. the seat of the presidency, and according to him, they are involved in Galamsey. You know what they say? If the crocodile or if the frog comes from the bottom of the pond to tell you that the crocodile is dead, you don't dispute it because you are not there with it. You and I were not there. What do you make of those developments? Because he mentions some interesting names, big wigs within the MPP. Yesterday, I engaged Dr. Arthur Kennedy of the MPP. He says he's still a member, he insisted. And he said that these people were criminal. I mean, it was corroborated by Professor Appiagyei. What do you make of these two stories? Cancer treatment and the cost, and of course, illegal mining and what it's doing to our country.
Well, let me start with the cancer treatment. I think that if you have a very good working health insurance system, some of these things need to be taken care of. All of us are open or susceptible to some of these illness, and nobody can say that he or she can be taken out of it. So we need to find ways and means to absorb some of these things. And these are the social nets that keeps a country moving. These are the social nets that gives hope to the hopeless, those who do not have. Because I feel that sometimes when some of these things happen, and those who have the resources, all that they do is normally to travel outside, fly to countries that they can get the needed treatment, and they come back fit. But what about those of us who do not have that kind of resource? So it means that we are left with the little that we have and the poor medical system that we normally experience in our various health facilities. So we need to pay attention to what the doctor is saying, and I think that we government should do more. Some of these are the things that keeps the people alive. So if there's a way that we can go around this, channel resources into it, and ensure that people with that kind of health issues are given the needed assistance, even if there will be some kind of payment structure for them, I think that will give them hope that at least when you go to the hospital, you can be treated, and then you are given space to pay for the cost of the treatment. I think that is something that, especially when it's got to do with kids, I think that is something that we should think through and see how best we'll be able to work around it, because we cannot continue to the society where some of these social nets are not functioning. And when somebody is sick in terms of that, he needs to produce the money before he or she can be attended to. But with the Galamsey issue, you see, in 2016, I got the opportunity to work with a German Research Institute. I was their national consultant,
right,
on a cocoa project. Of course, my background in research, with I think it's cocoa abrabopa also. So I traveled across all the cocoa regions in Ghana, and I visited villages, and I knew, in fact, I had first-hand knowledge about how the cocoa farms were flourishing. We did this study, which was a longitudinal study, till 2020, where we had the COVID. In 2020, the Research Institute lost their funds, so we couldn't do the final part, which is the end line. So we did 2016, we did 2018, and we wanted to do 2020, but we didn't get the funding. And I can tell you that within that period, you will see, because we had a map that have mapped all these cocoa areas that we can just see from our laptops. You could see the damage that we have done to these cocoa areas, and it is no joke at all. So and one interesting thing is that some of these cocoa associations are folding up because of the practice that now people are giving out their lands for Galamsey activities to take place. So for me,
some of them are being forced because they mine all around your farm. So it doesn't make any sense. There are no nutrients coming to the farms, the farmland anyway. So you'll sell it cheap. But for some, I mean, I think there was that viral video, I think sometime last year, where the person was saying, I've planted cocoa for decades or so. I've not made anything, but I'm doing Galamsey and I'm getting something, and all of those are there.
Yeah, sure. So for me, if there is any sort of information from anybody, whether the person is a former minister, whether the person had a particular committee to fight this, or whether the person is an ordinary man like me, we should treat it with all the seriousness that it deserves. And I feel that should have been the posture of government.
Okay,
Because
so just to conclude on this, you say we should address it with all the seriousness it deserves. The minority is saying there must be a probe by Parliament. In fact, that is corroborated by Dr. Arthur Kennedy, by Professor Apiagyei Etua. When I had that discussion with them yesterday, they both said there had to be a parliamentary probe. But how do you go about this when the people who are accused are the very people at the top? Look at the names in there.
That is what creates the difficulty, and especially when we all sat down and waited till somebody broke out the news. I think is it Kevin Taylor or somebody broke out the news on social media. Then we had the deniers coming, and in fact, the presidency. I mean, I've seen a news release. I think on the website of the presidency indicating that these are issues that were raised by the professor, but they call them hearsays or rumors or something of that sort.
A catalogue of grievances and hearsay. That's what they called it.
Yeah, it tells you how those are the top seas days. But it's sad that we have to get to this stage in terms of our national development, because this has also got to do with the future of the generation that we have. If the current generation were handed over this kind of environment, I wonder what they would have done. And that is one of my greatest concerns, that it seems that the current leadership, our fathers, let me use that word, our fathers have decided that they would want to destroy everything for our generation and the generations to come, because they had things on a silver platter. And I keep making this point. In terms of even tertiary education, they tell you, and you speak to them, they tell you the kind of education they had. They were one in a room, they were fed, they were given allowances, and sometimes when they were stepping out of the university, their works were ready for them. That is not the kind of future they are living for us. So I think that leaders, our current generation, our fathers, should stand up and make sure that we save the environment for the children that are coming. That is something that they owe us and they have to do.
Doc, let's make the most of the next 5 to 6 minutes, see what we can do. We can cover a number of papers, the major stories, of course. The Daily Guide this morning, Frimpong Boateng's report, personal grievances, that's according to the presidency. How personal the grievances are, we do not know. Africa is ready for business, that's according to Baumia. Killer cop busted on the run, killer in quote. And then, of course, there is that lady there, Victoria Dapa, who was shot dead. There are two interesting Galamsey-related stories on page 6. I'll take them. Police grab Axim Galamsey man and Major Mahama killed protecting Galamsey site. But let's take a quick look at that story on page 3. So a serving police officer, Inspector Ahmed Chumesi, has been arrested on suspicion of murdering 26-year-old Victoria Dapa. The young lady, popularly known as Mami Adwa or Majwa, as social media has couched it, was shot multiple times at close range on Thursday night at Edum in Kumasi, around the Dufie Towers, close to Asida House. He's been apprehended now. And yesterday on social media, I saw what was supposedly the CCTV footage of the incident right before the shooting happened. But let's turn to page 6 now. So police in the Western region have arrested one Kwame Ato Asare, a.k.a. Kwame Eni, who is believed to be the main suspect in the March 9, 2023 attack on the Axim District Police Patrol Unit. Kwame Ato Asare, 21, was arrested along with 3 others, increasing the total number of suspects arrested in connection with the crime to 8. Williams Kofi, 17, Richard Kwesi, and Emmanuel Kojo Broni, 17, and the 3 other suspects who were on the police radar but went into hiding following the incident. So he too has been apprehended. And tied to that, Major Mahama killed protecting Galamsey site. Now, the chairman of the defunct Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, has revealed in a damning report that Major Maxwell Adam Mahama was killed while protecting a mining concession in Dentra Boise. According to the report, Major Mahama was deployed to protect a mining concession belonging to C&J Alaska, a mining company owned by Donald Ensua and a Turkish or Canadian partner, when he met his untimely death. Detailing how the unfortunate incident led to then Captain Mahama's death, the report, authored by Professor Frimpong Boateng, a former Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, pointed out that, quote, during the last NDC regime, several mining companies signed MOUs with the Ghana Army that regulated the supply of security services to the mining companies, which included C&J Alaska. Many Ghanaians will remember the name C&J Alaska, a mining company co-owned by Donald Ensua and a Canadian national called Simon Amon. That caused a lot of destruction in the town then known as Dentro Boise, near Diaso or Dioso in the central region. So, per what he is saying, this was what culminated in the death of now Major Mahama. You see how far this goes. If we're to give credence to what Prof is saying, you see just how far this whole Galamsey scourge goes. But anyway, of course, that situation has been unraveled to some extent, but those are the latest developments. Any quick reactions as we move on?
I think that we keep catching the small fishes, and I think it's time that if we had strong institutions by this time now, people should have been invited, and a lot of interrogations should be going on. Of course, our institutions seems to be politically captured. So everything that we now do, we do in this country is either you are working for A or you are working for B. We don't have institutions that can stand up and say that this is the situation, we want to take charge of it, and we want to make sure that we bring the big fishes to book. And by bringing the big fishes to book, we are curtailing the problem. You can go on and arrest the young guys on the field doing the galamsey. I've always said that no big man who is involved in galamsey can be arrested at the galamsey site. So when you send soldiers and police people there to arrest those kids, what you are doing is that the next time the big man would employ another group of young people to go and do it, and you keep arresting them. Then the one who is actually benefiting from it continues to enjoy his booty, as we put it. I pray that institutions like the Office of the Special Prosecutor, maybe Shiraj, maybe the CID, should step in this time and handle the rumors and the grievances of Professor Frimpong. And let's see how far we can go with this. Again, I think that Parliament can also do that. But of course, if you look at the political nature of our Parliament, you will see that a group would seek to protect the image of their party, and another group will seek to project the image of their party. We don't need that at this time. And I believe that if we want to really solve this, we need to start catching the big fishes. And it will take a strong institution in this country to stand up and then deal with this issue. Else, everything that we can do is to talk about it, and we will talk about it, and nothing would change. I sympathize with the family of Major Mahama, because I think that he obeyed authority and went to that side. Of course, you can imagine if he decided not to go when he was, soldiers and their command system. Right. So he obeyed authority, and he had to face this untimely death. But we have to find those really behind it, the big fishes. Whether these are rumors or not, we need to get the big fishes. And by doing that, an institution in the country should stand up and save the environment for us once and for all.
I'll wrap with 3 newspapers. Just read the headlines from The Finder and do 2 stories from the Graphic Business and Economy Times. Now, The Finder says, Printpag Bank of Ghana Media Workshop didn't discuss Professor Frimpong Boateng. It's some surprise there, supposedly, that there was no such discussion to plot the downfall of Professor Frimpong Boateng. Division erupts among 2 individual bondholder groups, pictured there, Senor Hosi and Martin Kwebu. Get details on page 13. Standards Authority Board Chair, top officials cited for contempt, and 44.6% of Ghanaians insured. Confidence in industry rises from 60% to 78%. But the Graphic Business this morning, economy set for second slowdown. So there's good and the bad. The Economy Times gives us some of the good, but the Graphic Business, economy set for second slowdown. Revenues, jobs at stake Economist calls for review of targets. And the economy is set for a slowdown again this year after failing to grow as expected in 2022. Growth slowed down to 3.1% last year, below the target of 3.7%, and is now set to dip further to below 2% this year. Experts have agreed the government's target of 2.8% growth is now elusive as debt pressures and funding constraints threaten the rate at which the economy can expand. Now, economist and lecturer at the Academic City University, Eugene Bawele, said government would have to lower its 2023 gross domestic product target of 2.8% in the mid-year budget review after missing out on the 2022 target. The Economy Times looks at that same matter, but actually says Ghana's economy is expanding and that we are doing better than estimated. So interesting, headlines from both. But a quick reaction on that, and we can say goodbye.
Yeah, for me, I think that the economy is what you feel in your pocket. And that is why I want leadership to man up and take responsibility of what is going on. We should, for once, forget about the opponent and tackle the issue. When you are able to transform the economy, people feel it in their pocket. You don't need to even talk about it. So I think that should be the focus of anybody managing the economy at this point in time. People will continue to play with the figures. People will continue to play politics with it. But there are people who are living the economy. They wake up every morning and they know how they feel. These people should be our target. That if you're able to improve the system, these people will feel it. And when they feel it, it will translate into whatever it is that we want them to do for us. So that is basically what I want to say. And I think this problem of always resorting to stabilization policies should give way to looking at structural policies. You see,
right.
Because this 4-year term that we have, it gives the government in power an idea of only putting down, measures that will only help them to win the next election and not to think about a long-term process of transforming our economy. And
right.
That is what we've been doing ever since. We need to move away from this and start thinking of structural policies that will span like 10 to 15 years and forget about the political power. At the end of the day, when people see that you are transforming the economy, they would keep you in power to continue the good work that you are doing.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Anti, for joining the conversation, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. We're very grateful for your time. Do have the best of the day, sir.
Thank you.
And we veer into sports, but right before that, this segment, again, brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Reach them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Bwehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji State Tema 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama in Zima. You can call them. I prefer that you do. 0244 867 068 is the number to call, or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But as we get into sports, of course, a lot to talk about. Kotoko, Pipping, Eduana, the league leaders to it in the local league. But of course, we saw Manchester United qualify to the FA Cup finals. It's the first time we're going to see a Manchester derby at the FA Cup finals level. And I know we don't do basketball a lot of the time, but I'm interested in the fact that the LA Lakers are 3-1 up against the Memphis Grizzlies. Love basketball? Maybe you can check it out. Sports up next.